messages. 1:22 p.m. Monday, September 8th.
Hi, Glendora. It's Marge Pavica. I'm calling to return your phone call, and I'm very happy about the news concerning your case. That sounds like something that you should be talking to some of the tenants groups about, because there are a lot of tenants that are in your position, and they don't know what would be a good strategy. And I think this is an excellent strategy on your part, and I congratulate you for doing that.
Message 1:23 p.m. Monday, September 8th.
Yes, Glendora, it's Marge Pavica. I'll just finish up. My telephone number is 761-6041. I'm sorry I was not able to be with you on Tuesday. My husband is on the mend, thank God, and has to get his strength back, but he's now out of the hospital. Okay, good luck to you, and we'll talk in the future sometime about contacting some of these other tenants groups. Thanks a lot for your call. Bye-bye.
Message 3:04 p.m. Monday, September 8th.
Hi, it's Brad. Just checking in. Call me when you get a chance. Bye.
Message 4:38 p.m. Monday, September 8th.
Hello, my name is Anne-Marie Cavall, and I found a case pertaining to a legal suit and in Brooklyn at the court of Adams and Tillery. And my number here is 718-694-9508. I would imagine this material is of importance to you.
Message 5:02 p.m. Monday, September 8th.
Hello?
Message 6:03 p.m. Monday, September 8th. Message 7:40 p.m. Monday, September 8th.
Hey, Glendora, it's Mike. I'm just calling to see how you guys are. I heard what happened. I can't believe it. I hope you guys are just relaxing. Everything's going to be fine. Alright, so I'll give you a call tomorrow. I had to work late tonight, but I was thinking about you guys. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Message 8:13 p.m. Monday, September 8th. messages.
Jackson, it's 9 o'clock. My number is 718-461-1209. Returning Glendora's phone calls. Again, my number is 718-461-1209. Thanks.
Message 2:8:44 p.m. Thursday, September 11th.
That's because Glendora didn't invest in the right stocks. That's why he owes everybody. Harold Gillette returning your call. It's 8:30 Thursday night. I'm home for the rest of the night. You can call me up till 11:30. For tomorrow morning, give me a call around 9:30, 10 o'clock. 636-4774. I'm very anxious to know how you made out in court, so please get back to me. Thank you. Hello, Franklin.
Message 3:9:53 a.m. Friday, September 12th.
Hi, it's Glendora. Yes, hello. Morning.
Hello.
It's Ted.
What's that?
Are you there?
Yeah, I am.
Or is this Pete?
No, I'm here. The machine
It
is...
sounds like a phone, I guess.
No, the machine is running. It's still running.
Oh, okay.
I don't know how to turn it off.
Oh, all right. I'm shuffling the schedule around. I told Julie I won't be going to court. I told her last time I got her that I won't be going to court. They're having the bed.
Yeah.
You know, I told her I won't be going. And I'm still...
Message 4:11:27 a.m. Friday, September 12th. Message 5:1:46 p.m. Friday, September 12th.
Hi, Glendora. It's Dr. Zero returning your call. It's Friday afternoon. It is 1:30. I'm going to be leaving my office now. If you'd like, you can give me a call back in the office again on Monday. I'll be in after 8 a.m. Thank you. Have a nice weekend. Bye.
Message 6:10:18 p.m. Friday, September 12th. Message 7:11:01 a.m. Monday, September 15th.
Glendora, Harold Gillette. Darling, instead of making the telephone company very rich, when you call me back, give me the results of what happened at the trial. Let me know if you don't reach me, at least let me know what's going on, because I'm very interested, okay? It's Monday morning, 10:30. I'll be home till 12:30 today. And then, if you wish, you can reach me tonight. Well, I don't know, I'm after 10. I'll be home after 10 this evening. Or you can reach me
Message 8:5:39 p.m. Monday, September 15th.
Glendora, it's Jane Ann Murray. I'm calling to return your calls today. I just got the transcript of the last day of testimony, so I'm going to send a copy of that to you. So anyway, give me a call if there's anything else you need. Thanks. Bye.
Message 9:5:39 p.m. Monday, September 15th.
Hi, Glendora. Sorry, it's Jane Ann again. Also, we have booked, as long as it's okay with Franklin, to do his PSI at 10 o'clock on September 18th in the morning. So please call me back and let me know if that's good. Okay, thanks. Bye.
Message 10:09 p.m. Monday, September 15th.
Hi, Glendora. It's Bob Fulber. It's Monday evening about 8:45. I spoke to the director of the Nassau County Civil Liberties today for about a half hour. I know her for a couple of years, and it's her job to conserve their resources, to make sure that issues are those that the board is interested in challenging the government on.
Message 11:9:01 p.m. Monday, September 15th.
Okay, it's me again. I tried to raise issues of whether the security guards were following proper procedures, whether the privatization of law enforcement is an issue. They're looking for a constitutional issue. I'm going to drop some material off with her tomorrow, but I wasn't encouraged by what she said, so I think you have to proceed on your own. I would suggest contacting the Westchester section. I will keep pushing
Greenwich 12:09:02 p.m. Monday, September 15th.
Okay, it's me again. As I say, I'll drop some stuff off tomorrow. I'll try to argue the case some more. It would be better. You're more familiar with it than I am if you did, but first I have to get somewhere with her. I'll be in touch in a day or so. Take care.
You're a wonderful person, Bob Glober.
End of messages. Answer off. Enter yes to confirm. Messages erased.
This is the hallway closet. Hallway walls. This is the entrance of the apartment. This is the kitchen floor. This is the stove. This is the refrigerator. Kitchen wall. Kitchen window. Radiator. Cupboards. Sink. Room, the walls, window to the south, walls. It's 2 o'clock and Mr. Porzio is not here for the inspection. Master antenna, walls, doors, floor, wall, bathroom, sink, toilet, floor, walls, walls to the east, walls to the north, floor, closet, wall to the west. The date is February 28th, last day of the month. Walls, wall to the south, wall to the east, window to the east, closet, wall to the north, closet, wall to the west, floor. We're looking west. All right, we're going to do this over. Okay, this is the kitchen, and you're looking at the kitchen cupboards. And this is the stove. Stove is fine. Open the refrigerator if you would, please. Refrigerator is fine. This is the floor. Back up here for the floor. And the walls. And the ceiling. So the ceiling's fine. The floors are fine. We're backing out of the kitchen. This is the front door. Hallway floor. Hallway closet. Hallway walls. And living room. Looking to the south. West, ceiling, walls, west wall, dining area wall, chandelier, the wall. This is my wrappings for the camera. That's the only thing that's left. floors, and this, of course, is the east wall. Northeast bedroom. These windows are looking east. There's the walls, there's the ceiling, floors, extension cord for the camera, walls, northeast bedroom, closet, floor, coming out into the hallway. Light, ceilings, walls, walls, ceiling, floors, walls. This is the hallway. This is the bathroom, and it's looking east. Pink tile floor. Johnny, bathroom cabinet. Sink, tub. Looking east, pink tiles, wallpaper, all intact. All in good condition. Let's get another look at it, and then we go to the last room. And this is it. This screen doesn't work. It keeps coming down during the winter, so we take it out during the winter. Floors. The south. This is the field. Take a look at this wall. This is a west wall, the doorway, the closet. This is a north wall. This is another closet. Window looks to the east. Wall. Ceiling. Floor. Floor, floor. Okie dokie. That's it. One more thing is the basement. The door, this is looking west. We're going into the basement bin. That's the south wall. This is the east wall. This is the floor. This is the west wall, ceiling, and I'll show you the last wall. It's the north wall. And junk in the cellar. Air conditioner and 2 bicycles. And now the door closes. Fade out. Last week, folks, we started reading you some of the sins of Rosanna Washington, a judge, part-time judge, in the city court of the city of White Plains. You and I have come across some very crooked lawyers and some very corrupt judges in the past few years, haven't we? Well, this one has to be the nadir. Quote, said Rosanna Washington, when the case comes back from federal court to White Plains City Court, it will go to a different judge or a different court. She defied her own order. She did not keep her word. She lied. She rigged the trial. She predetermined when it would be over. Thursday afternoon, she said it would be over Friday afternoon. Is that rigged? Is that stacked? Is she fit? White Plains Common Council, how could you be so duped? And Mayor, it was Cy Schulman at the time. Now we will take Porzio to the Supreme Court of the state of New York. We will denude him and his liar for hire, Friedrich Lehrman and Mark A. Gudeman, and his judge for sale, Rosanna Washington, for their crookedness, traitorship, and collusion. The law is on our side, the facts are on our side, but Rosanna is on the landlord's side. Lerman was his usual nescient and bumbling self, as bad in court as he is bad on paper. Porzio was his usual sleaze. Rosanna was her usual odious self. There is no exculpation for these three hoods betraying their country. Rosanna in her Dorian Gray, deterioration, even denied the logs as evidence. There was something like 300 logs, daily logs, that list the 4,500 torts that landlord Porzio totally ignored. She denied the logs as evidence. 2,000 logs were denied as evidence that tell the truth about the Walsh, Alpucci, and Larkin lawbreaking. But they can go back on TV, the videotapes, and the day-by-day and hour-by-hour account of their violations, 4,500 torts it turned out to be in all. And to a much wilder, and to a much bigger audience than a greedy, impudent little girl court stenographer named Kathy Brophy, a handful of court stenographers, and a shrieking maniac judge. So they will have a much bigger audience. You. How can these poor court officers stomach this disgusting decadence every day? They do look sickened by it. It's a very unhealthy job. Glendora has found one former New York court officer who is ready to tell all. That's good. I never saw anyone make a bigger fool of herself than Rosanna Washington did. The disintegration of a Homo sapiens before your eyes. We would rather be patriots than traitors. We would rather be we than they. It is no conundrum why they rob you of videotape recorders and audio tape recorders. They don't want you, the public, all powerful, to know. Rise up and get them out of justice land. They are despicable. What a sad record they have left their progeny. What a blot they are to predecessors. Get rid of the judge disease. Judge disease. Can't we vaccinate the courts against such germs? She ruled 100% for the criminals. She ruled 100% against the patriots. Were you expecting her to do it right, Rosanna Washington? No. Her face reads she hasn't got what it takes to be a judge. And now she will continue to bury her crime, but we will continue to expose it. We will continue to let you, the public, know. Everything Porzio lied about and coerced everyone else to lie about is refuted on Glendora's 8 hours of videotapes and 5 hours of audio tapes. That is why scoundrel Rosanna Washington censored the tapes. Is this any better than Nazism? What do you think of a judge who writes her malicious order at the bench instead of listening to the testimony? The testimony is going on and she's there at the bench writing the stupid order. Is it scandalous? Yes. She's a White Plains scourge. And it's sad. White Plains is such a nice city. Glendora asked Keenan, Oliver, and Delgado, 3 White Plains council people, to come and witness the antics of one Rosanna Washington, whom they appointed, well, not Delgado, but they all ran away from it. So go watch her some other day. We will. Quote, I'm going to make a ruling, unquote. She shouts like a tribe leader. We will find another forum for the law-breaking of trio Porzio, Lehrman, and Rosanna, the pirates of no soul. They don't know the law. We know it better than they do. Their ignorance is bad enough, but their crookedness is even worse. Watch court and gather other victims and rally the council and the public to recall Rosanna. Evict Rosanna. We witnessed the total demoralization of 3 creatures, and she made the state pay overtime for 4 court officers. Governor Pataki, fire her. A judge should not be a liar, a thief, and a cheat. She wouldn't let any testimony be entered about her big lie of January, February, about the September 2nd, which she carefully kept out of print. Is this American? Is this White Plains Council? Is this what you want? She is making a mockery of you. But we feel victorious. We stood our ground, and we stood up for Americans. And now comes the next task. Petition for recall of Rosanna Washington. Picket, 77 South Lexington, 199 Main Street, and 20 Mamaroneck, and public access exposure. Work on the retrial. Evict Rosanna. Porzio showed serious dementia. He couldn't remember anything. His mind wandered pathetically. He squirmed under his lies. Lehrman's sins were obviously catching up with him. His sleaze was smothering him. Rosanna was pathetic in her soul-selling. What we do, we'll petition. We'll petition the White Plains Common Council and the mayor to recall Rosanna Washington. Title is what, please? Hi there, everybody. How are you today? Paul said to Peter, last night I slept like a log. And Peter says, yes, I know. I heard you sawing it. And Billy said to John, is the family next door related to you? And John says, well, they're distantly related to us. And Billy said, how? And John says, well, their dog is my dog's brother. Little Priscilla, her mother says, what are you doing? And little Priscilla says, I'm writing a letter to Pam. And her mother says, but Pam can't read. And Priscilla says, that's okay, I can't write either. Bob was in a restaurant, and the waiter put down a plate. And Bob said to the waiter, this plate is wet. And the waiter says, that's not a wet plate, sir, that's your soup. Bud went into a restaurant and had a 3-course meal. It consisted of 2 French fries and 1 pea. And Joni was in a restaurant, and she said to the waitress, this coffee tastes like mud. And the waitress says, that's because it was ground 1 hour ago. And when Billy was in the restaurant, a waitress put down a bowl of soup, and Billy says, what is this? And the waitress says, that's bean soup. And Billy says, it's bean soup? Well, what was it before? Mrs. Morgan was teaching her 4th graders, and she said to the class, name something of significance that did not exist 100 years ago. And Tommy says, me. And the next day, Mrs. Morgan was trying to teach the children about love, and she said to Harry, Harry, explain to me about love. And Harry says, okay. He says, I like my mother, I like my father, but I love bubble gum. Folks, what would you call a sailor who has 7 children? What would you call a sailor who has 7 children? Daddy. Steve's sister said to him, Steve, how much are 2 and 2? And little Steve says, 4. And his sister says, good. And Steve says, what do you mean good? That's perfect. And Stan was asked, what is the plural of mouse? And he said mice. And then he was asked, what's the plural of goose? And Stan said geese. And then he was asked, what is the plural of baby? And Stan said twins. Mrs. Morgan said to Ted, if I borrow $10 from your brother and he pays me back $1 a month for 6 months, how much will he owe me? And Ted says $10. And Mrs. Morgan says, you don't know arithmetic. And Ted says, you don't know my brother. And Tim was asked this question, if I give you 3 pencils today and 4 pencils tomorrow, how many pencils will you have altogether? And Tim said, 8. Mrs. Morgan says, why 8? Tim says, because I already have one now. And Mrs. Morgan was getting really upset with the kids. They wouldn't pay attention, and they wouldn't look at her. And so she was explaining about a hippopotamus, and she says, listen, you kids, you've got to pay attention. You've got to watch me. If you don't watch me, you'll never know what a hippopotamus looks like. Tammy, her writing was so bad that the teacher told her to copy a poem 20 times. And so then she handed it to Mrs. Morgan, and Mrs. Morgan says, but this is only 17 times. And Tammy says, yes, my arithmetic is bad too. And Jason was asked, which is nearer, England or the moon? And Jason says, the moon, because you can see the moon, but you can't see England. And Joan was asked to draw a picture of a tractor hauling a cart. So she drew a picture, but it was just a tractor, and the teacher says, why didn't you draw the picture of the cart? And Joni says, because the tractor will draw the cart. And Jane was in arts and crafts class. She was telling her mother, and she says, the teacher didn't like what I was making. And her mother says, oh, well, what were you making? And Janie says, mistakes. Dad says, what do you call the outside of a tree? And his little son couldn't think of it. And Dad says, bark, bark. And Bob says, woof, woof. And Billy was asked, what were the Poles doing in Russia in 1940? And Billy says, I guess holding up the telephone wires. And Brad was asked if he'd read Dickens and if he'd read Shakespeare. No, he hadn't read Dickens. No, he hadn't read Shakespeare. And the teacher says, well, what have you read? And Brad stammered, well, I have read Hare. And Bucky was asked, what birds do you usually find in captivity? And his answer was, jailbirds. And Bill came to school, and his teacher said, where were you yesterday? And Bill says, I was sick. And the teacher said, sick of what? And Bill said, sick of school. European tourists on 57th Street in New York asked a man who happened to be a violinist, how do you get to Carnegie Hall? And the violinist said, practice, practice. And 2 men were standing at a bus stop, and one man said to the second man, do you know how long the next bus will be? And the second man said, yes, I do, about 25 feet. This is Glendora, a cheerful look at life. Keep the courage flaming, please.
Showtime and Movie Channel after being a sports producer.
After being well, what happened was I was a sports producer there at the home box office for about 4 months.
4 months.
Running around doing world team tennis and doing basketball and some Canadian football. I think
Oh,
we
really?
were doing in those days. And I did that for 4 months, and I kept looking at HBO in the early days. This is 1976, home box office, and I keep looking at the network, and I see they run movies. And between movies, they have a dirty slide up that says HBO with a thumbprint on it.
Ha!
That they had not figured out yet how to do on-air promotion, how to do network identification, how to look like a network. It was in the early years, and what they were was a movie service. And so what they would do is put movies on television, and they weren't really concerned about what they did between the movies.
So,
most movies don't run 2 hours,
Yeah.
they run 1 hour and 45 minutes, excuse me, and you've got 15 minutes to fill till you run your next movie. So in that 15 minutes, there was really nothing going on HBO. So what I said to them was, look, I think that the role that I should play for you at HBO is not to be a sports producer. Because I think you can find sports producers. I think those kind of people you can find. What you can't find is someone who will give you a look like a network, who will make you look like a network, make you look expensive, make you look like you deserve to be paid for. Because in those years, 76, most of the cable systems were 12-channel cable systems. All you had were 12 choices. Today, as we know, you have over 40, 50 choices. And
Another person who's made a very good career out of broadcast engineering. This is Mr. David Baylor. David, you were born where?
In Washington, D.C.
You were?
Yes.
And you went to school there, David?
Yes, I did. University of Maryland.
You did, University of Maryland. What did you take?
Electrical engineering.
You did. What interested you in that so young? Somebody you knew was in it, or?
Well, I always was interested in it, and I built a few kits when I was younger, and it just seemed to be the thing I wanted to do.
And you still want to do it, don't you?
Absolutely.
You still love it. And then, first job out of University of Maryland.
First job out of the University of Maryland was at the Naval Ordnance Laboratory in Washington as an electronics technician.
Electronics technician?
Yes.
Uh-huh. And what that work consist of, David?
We worked on various items that were made as prototypes or test models for different kinds of weapons.
Yes.
Actually,
yes.
some mines and missiles and things of that nature. And I worked with an engineer who designed the various electrical or various weapons, and I built the first models of them.
Gee, David, you learned a lot. So what advice would you give a youngster to get started in broadcast engineering today?
I think the biggest thing is a desire and an enjoyment of that as a career. You have to really want to do it, because it's a tough career in terms of the type of hours that you have to work. It's a 7-day-a-week, 24-hour-a-day business, and you frequently are away on holidays and the times when other people are at home with their families, you're out working.
And basically what we did was work with the branch system to develop local promotions.
Local promotions?
Within specific branches or communities.
Yes. And then you did what after that?
Then I came up to Westchester, which is what I'm doing now, and I run a group of branches. I'm what's called a market manager.
A market manager.
I'm responsible for a group of branches in the White Plains area, White Plains and northern Westchester.
Oh, now, when Betsy Spence comes back, boys and girls, she'll tell you what the work is like so you can judge if you want to aim for that for a career, and then she'll give you some advice how to get started in, what would you call it, marketing?
Well, sales and marketing, and it involves a lot of general management responsibility as well.
All righty, and this is a chat with Glendora. Betsy, tell the boys and girls what your work is like.
Well, really, I guess the nice thing about it is that it's never the same from day to day. I do a lot of different things. I work directly with the managers of the branches, trying to develop their business in the branches. We're also working on trying to figure out new ways to do business in Westchester County, whether it's putting automated teller machines in locations throughout the county. It's working on a lot of projects, basically, and I think probably our main concern right now is trying to improve the level of customer service that we offer.
Students, and then next after that, Marie?
Then again, quite, not so much by accident, but a social situation. I met an interesting gentleman who had a small privately held company in Portchester,
Yes.
full-line food vending service. And he wanted to introduce coffee services into the corporate offices along White Plains Platinum Mile.
Yes.
And I looked to him and I said, you know, women would be dynamite doing that. And he said, okay. I sent him some information and jokingly in my note said, maybe the woman you need for the project is me.
Ah.
So he called me 6 months later and said, let's talk.
Yeah, he was lucky to get you to do that.
Oh, it was wonderful to work with him. His name was Fred.
Rossi, what do you think is a good way to get started in training and development today?
Well, true for not only training and development, but I would say really for any field that the audience would be interested in, is to do your homework. To really take a close look at what the market is needing. And then from there, do some research in terms of how many people are doing what you'd like to be doing. It's important to know what your competition is doing, and then do it slightly better.
And I decided that I wanted to try to work in Los Angeles.
Yes.
Because I knew that's where the big time was.
That's right.
So I moved to Los Angeles and I started looking around for work there. And that's a little bit of a different affair because when you come into town and nobody knows you, it's a lot of knocking on doors and a lot of persistence and a lot of patience, which is probably the hardest thing for a young person to learn. Patience doesn't come easy for young people, and even at this age, patience is still a hard thing to have and to remind yourself that it's important to have. But I did, and I persisted, and I finally got some work, and one job led to the next, and I think that's probably what led me to this.
Tell us how you got that first work.
Well, the first job, actually what I did was I called up to National Broadcasting Company, to NBC, and I asked to speak to the person who hired stage managers because that's what I had most of my experience in San Francisco. And I got to speak to that person. They were very nice. They spoke to me on the phone.
Nice? Yeah.
They were very kind.
Yeah, they were.
And I explained that I was new in town and that I wanted to get a job at NBC, that I wanted to work at NBC on some of their shows. And they told me that they didn't have anything at the moment, which often happens, you know, to people who are just coming in out of the blue.
Only thing they'd have is a line this long.
And they said, they asked me if I'd be willing to come in and watch without pay. And
What was that? Come in and what?
Come in and watch.
Watch without pay.
So I said, you mean just come down and watch the shows and watch the people doing these different jobs and without being paid for it? And they said, that's right. Would you be willing to do that? And they said they wouldn't be able to promise me a job, but if I came down and watched, at least I would know what the job was. So if a job did come up, I would have some preparedness for it. Yeah. So I did. And that's what I did. I went down and watched. As a matter of fact, the very first show that I ever worked on was Wheel of Fortune. And I became a stage manager. I observed it for quite a while. I watched it for quite a while.
Like
Starting to work. It's a competitive world out there, and more education will certainly give you an advantage. And besides, I think more knowledge will make life more rewarding. Then, second, I would urge that all of you try to develop a sensitivity to other people.
Yeah.
Make people like you, if you will. No one needs any enemies. Then I would say, third, plan to really be industrious and loyal to whomever you work for.
Be industrious and loyal.
People, as I said before, I think the most successful people are the ones who really enjoy their work. I think you must set goals for yourself, be patient, and maintain a determination to meet those goals. The harder you try, the more rewarding it becomes. And I believe if you really want to do anything bad enough in this country, you can do it.
Oh, good word.
Finally, I would say to all of you, be honest in everything you do. Nothing
anybody can say to you is more important than that.
Be honest.
Be honest.
Aw.
Yourself and others.
Well, you set a good example for us. It was so kind of you, and you're busy traveling all over to take time to tell the children that, Mr. Wern.
I enjoyed chatting with you, and I wish everyone in the audience good luck.
Oh, we thank you so much. Now, this was Mr. Wilson C. Wern, Chairman, Multimedia Incorporated, Greenville, South Carolina. And this is a chat with Glendora. Chat with Glendora, and this is Mr. William Phillips, and he's the general manager of Bravo Cable TV Network. Bill, would you just tell the boys and girls about Bravo?
Sure. How are you? Good afternoon. Bravo Cable Network is a cultural channel. Basically, we show a lot of international award-winning films, performing arts specials.
Yeah.
Just all manner of things that you would like to see, maybe in Lincoln Center or on Broadway.
Yeah.
It's real exciting stuff.
And you're going on Manhattan Cable TV pretty soon?
Pretty soon, but that's very quiet information right
Quiet information. Well, boys and girls, this is Tom McKitty, and he's the Senior Vice President of Tempo Television. And Tom, would you tell the kids what Tempo Television is?
Tempo Television is a cable network that is geared to the 45-plus audience. That means for people who are 45 years and older, although we like children to look at it as well.
Why, sure. And what are some of the programs that you sell?
Well, we sell Looking East. Basically what we do is we have 4 programming blocks. One of them is travel. We look at a lot of travel and international programming. And we do entertainment. We have a entertainment show that's based in Australia called The Sullivans, which is sort of like a World War II drama.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah.
And we also do some programming in the way of how-to, and it tells you how to build a house or how to fix things, and how to do financial kinds of planning and that sort of thing. And that's the kind of programming that we do.
And how to get along with your cable company.
Yes.
Glendora is Mr. Charles Colarusso, and he's the head of Colarusso Productions. Hi, Charles. How are you?
Fine, thanks.
Oh, thank you for being on our program and telling the children how you got started. Where were you born, Charles?
In New York City, outside of New York.
Oh, you were? Good news. Whereabouts?
Mount Vernon.
Oh, in Mount Vernon. You know that's where this is going, Charles. The cable system, United Artists Columbia.
Oh, yeah?
And Group W, it used to be Group W, now it's Paragon. They serve Mount Vernon. Charles, where did you go to school?
I went to school in Mount Vernon, then I went to Parsons School of Design in New York.
Oh, did you really? And your first job outside of Parsons?
Was doing promotional films for various studios.
Well, that must have been a good training.
It was.
Yes. How long did you do that?
I did that for a few years, and then I got involved in a television show doing cartoons. It was a show that involved cartoon drawings.
Really? A TV show?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And do you know what one? What one was that?
It was a show called Make a Face.
Make a Face?
Television. It was live every day. It was a little theater in New York.
Did you really? Oh, I think that's fascinating. That's a day that's gone, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, that was fun back in those days. And your next job?
Well, then I don't remember really, but I just sort of went from one job to another, and basically as a
Yes.
artist and an art director.
As an artist and an art director.
And then eventually got into being an associate producer. And
where was that, Charles?
This was all in New York.
What were you associate producer for?
Other game shows.
The game shows?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Shows that, this is 20 years ago, 25 years ago, a lot of people will not remember them. So
yes, right. And then you went to where?
Then I came to California.
Uh-huh.
And I worked for many years with Dinah Shore.
See the USA?
No, this was later than that. On Dinah's Place
Dinah's Place.
on NBC.
Yes.
And then from Dinah's Place, went to the 90-minute show that was called Dinah.
Yeah, that was a talk show, Charles? Yes. And that was back in the 60s?
No, that was in the 70s.
In the 70s. Uh-huh.
And I stayed for that.
And were you producer of those shows?
No, I was the associate producer.
Associate producer, I see.
And then in 1980, I did another talk show called The John Davidson Show. Which
Oh, yes. I used to like that show a lot.
That was on for a couple of years.
Yes, it was a good show, and you were the producer of that.
I eventually became the producer of that.
Hi, boys and girls. You're back on 6th Avenue, and you're talking to a man who's a vice president of marketing for Lifetime Cable Network. Larry Rebich, would you tell the boys and girls what Lifetime Cable Network does and do?
Sure, I'd be happy to do that. Basically, Lifetime Cable Television Network is 2 television networks in one.
Oh?
On Monday through Saturday, we offer entertainment and information programming of particular interest to women.
Uh-huh.
And on Sundays, we have medical programming.
Medical programming.
Medical programming. It's targeted to primary care physicians.
Oh.
And it's a way that physicians can keep current on new breakthroughs in their jobs and in the healthcare industry. It's a way they can keep up with it on television.
Oh, that's very good. Are you on Manhattan Cable TV?
Yes, we are on Manhattan Cable, Channel B.
Channel B. And are you on Paragon Manhattan Cable TV?
Not on Paragon as yet, but we're working on that.
And are you on United Artists Columbia of Westchester?
We are.
There. Now, boys and girls, you've seen the man who's, what are you, second in command?
Yes.
Yeah, good for you, Larry. Won't you tell the boys and girls where you were born?
I was born in Sewickley, Pennsylvania.
Sewickley?
Yes.
Uh-huh. And that's where, Larry?
It's just outside of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Oh, okay. And then you went to school there?
Yes, I did. I went to high school at Aliquippa High School in western Pennsylvania.
Yes, uh-huh.
And after that, attended the University of Pittsburgh.
You did?
Yes.
And what'd you take as an undergraduate?
Majored in chemistry.
You did?
Yes.
And on 3rd Avenue, 53rd, and it's oval, right, Mitch?
Yeah.
Yeah, what building is it called?
It's called the Lipstick Building.
What is it called?
It's called the Lipstick Building.
The Lipstick.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful, and it's all brown and shiny, and the elevators are so pretty. Yeah.
Yeah.
I watched them when they built that. This is nice.
So did I.
Did you?
Yeah. Every day driving into work, we pass it.
Yeah. Oh, you're smart to have an office here on the 12th floor. Mitch, tell the boys and girls, he's the president of Select Media Communications. And won't you tell the boys and girls what Select Media is?
Okay. Sure. We're a syndication company.
Oh.
We distribute television programming throughout the country.
Oh.
We come up with our own ideas sometimes. We will have it produced and then sell the advertising time within the show.
Why, that's very interesting.
Yeah, it's a fascinating business.
Oh, good for you, Mitch. Now give us the names of some of your shows to see if we know them.
Okay, well, they're 1-minute vignettes, and some of them are called Today in Music History,
yes,
which is on Channel 11 here in New York.
Oh.
Then we have Intermission, which is a movie vignette on Channel 5.
Uh-huh. What is an intermission? What's
Intermission is it's trivia. It's movie trivia that airs in
like a chat with Glendora.
Yeah, like a chat with Glendora. That's right. It's movie trivia that airs within their movie, and it asks you a question about different movies.
Oh,
so
what
it gives
fun!
Gives you a little game to play.
Yes, right. And some others, Mitch?
Well, we have Who Done It, which is a sports vignette on NBC here in New York.
Oh, good.
It's on the weekends. Then I have another one called Health Break.
Yes.
That's with Jim. That's with Jim Palmer. Yeah, he was a lot of fun to work with.
Sure, I've seen that. That's yours.
Yeah, that's ours. And then we have an animated one that airs during the day on Channel 5 and on NYW, and that's called Ask Professor Nutrition, and that's about nutrition and a health vignette.
Oh, really? Gee, that's interesting. Now, when Betty Hudson comes back, boys and girls, she's going to give you some advice how you might get started on a television career that's interesting. And, of course, this is a chat with Glendora. Betty, would you tell the boys and girls a good way to get started in TV today?
Well, today, Glendora and boys and girls, I think the best thing you can do once you've figured out that you want to be in broadcasting is identify the end of the business that you want to be in. You know, 90% of the jobs are behind the scenes. Only a few of them, a handful of them, are on camera as reporters or anchors or whatever. And an equally small handful produce shows for television. We need finance people, we need crews, we need people to write commercials, we need all of that kind of support. And in markets around the country are television stations who are looking for bright young people who could lend a hand at that. And I think that the best thing you can do is pick a place you might like to live, pick some television stations in those towns that might be logical places for you to work, and go offer yourselves, once you've gotten some training and education, that would give you a leg up on the competition.
And just do the best job you can.
Yep. If you are interested in running finance for television, obviously take business courses and accounting courses in college.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not too hard to figure out how you back into those jobs. If you're interested in becoming members of production crews, then you would go to a college or university or a community college that offered some training, that had a television facility where you could volunteer to work on local shows or go work for the PBS station in town or volunteer to help at a telethon. Any experience you can get gives you an advantage.
Did you hear what the judge said to the dentist? What did the judge say to the dentist? Do you swear to pull the tooth, the whole tooth, and nothing but the tooth? Folks, you know that I filed a $23 million. So we're up to page 9 of the Franklin Glendora affidavit that Rosanna Washington lied, stole, and cheated a judge. Nothing new. In Supreme Court, State of New York, this morning, a man said, "Glendora, you're on TV, I watch you. I like the fight for rights." Sonny Katz said, "I'm down, turn down the music. I want to hear what you say." He certainly will want to hear what I have to say about Rosanna Washington. Lerman even tried to lie about Ken Young's testimony. Walsh, El Pucci, and Larkin tore the place apart. He lied in open court when it was a matter of record. And of course, Rosanna wouldn't let me make the point. She drowned it out, shouted it out. Lerman, as reported, interrupted the truth 80 times. Rosanna interrupted the truth 40 times. It was clumsy. Rosanna outshouted the Rosanna outshouted the embossed copy of the docket, U.S. Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit, showing the case was still on in federal court, hence was still adjourned in White Plains City Court. What a crook she is. Then when Glendora stands up for the truth, she screams, "I'm warning you! You're in contempt! You're going to jail!" She's the one who belongs in jail the rest of her worthless life. Her clumsy performance continued with her ignorance of the law. She released the $10,500 stupid Porzio had caused to be paid into court. The only way Porzio could clutch the illicit eviction was lying, so he willingly fell prey and brought her and Caesar into the hole with him. Caesar Eurythia lied. Caesar Eurythia lied. Twice. And then in repeating the same incidents 4 times. There is something very evil about the White Plains courts, police department, fire department, and building department. Clumsy Rosanna is just the tip of the iceberg. Franklin was a pillar of American soldier bravery. He fought hard for truth and right in his country, and that witness cheer as he did D-Day to VE Day from Normandy to Weimar. He didn't let the liars and crooks get by with anything. He showed them up. Gestapo Rosanna wouldn't let him mention the certified embossed docket from the U.S. Court of Appeals that would reveal her lying, her stealing, and cheating. But her lapse out of humanness was obvious to everybody. She is really a disgrace. Lerman is so dishonest, he will not let the receptionist Michelle sign received on papers. A law office. That's how dishonest Lerman is. He really has deteriorated as a human being. We won. We stood up for right. We kept our soul. The sinners think they are the winners, but they're the losers. They lost. Human beings turned into rubbish. At one point, Glendora, outraged at rogue Rosanna's Nazism, said, "Why are you so prejudiced against us?" Answer, of course not. Porzio testified he had gone bananas. He lied he had not spit in Glendora's face. What a low life he is. There's not much left in him. It's decay and rot now. Glendora never got to tell her side. Rogue Rosanna Nazi'd only one side. A court's job is to ascertain the truth. She has no idea what it is. She defied everything Franklin and millions stood up for, D-Day to VE Day. Glendora did not eat all day. She was too busy with Franklin fighting for America, filing a new lawsuit against rogue Rosanna for lying and stealing and cheating on the U.S. Court of Appeals embossed docket. An appearance before a judge in Supreme Court, State of New York, serving rogue Rosanna a lawsuit. Packing the Lincoln from 12:30 p.m. we drove by well, it was a big job to load that Lincoln. It was 300 pounds of evidence and a great big TV monitor and video equipment. And it was about, the TV set must be about 80 pounds and 120 pounds of files in the White Plains mock court. We sat at court for an hour and reviewed the lies of Porzio, Washington, Lerman, and Freya. Rogue Rosanna, in her gutter manner, caused Franklin and Glendora to lug another 300 pounds of evidence to court, and this is the 6th time, and then crookedly stole our right to present it. We have no respect for them. They obviously have no respect for themselves. Porzio lied again about water in the cellar. I'll show you a videotape of that, water in the cellar, and just obviously he lies. Rosanna would not let me show that tape because she didn't want to know that he was lying. No hot water at 5 a.m. Furnace failures 60 times. Porzio's unsteady face showed clearly as he testified that he had gone bananas. Rogue Rosanna would not let the videotapes be shown that told the truth. Truth is not their interest. Crookedness is. She is enslaved to crookedness. We ruined her dream of the supreme, a great accomplishment for public service. She should be jailed and fined. Quote, by a preponderance of the evidence, unquote, she intoned. Truthfully, it was by a preponderance of lies. What a traitor is she to the USA. She was served a new lawsuit at 11:35 a.m. She should have recused immediately, but as always, she breaks the laws, and she doesn't know the laws. What a coward she is to run away from the videotape evidence and the audio tape evidence. Picket, petition for recall, and public access TV reports. To these berserk rulings, Glendora would say grounds, and Rogue Rosanna would bellow, I don't have to say. She had no grounds. She calls them rulings, but they are nothing but dicta. Recall her, White Plains Common Council, recall her. You are guilty for putting the awkward woman there. She is a misfit. Here is a godless and an Americanless court. Really, it really isn't a court. Not only did bungler Rosanna maliciously cause us to carry 300 pounds of video equipment and files to court for nothing, she maliciously caused Glendora to do 200 hours work making dubs and $100 cost for discovery the crooks requested, and the crooks should have paid for it. They requested it. She doesn't know that the person who demands discovery is to pay for it. She is legal illiterate. She is a sacrilege to America's dearest traditions, free speech, trial by jury, in personam jurisdiction, Travis hearings, honesty, honor, uprightness, fairness, impartiality, and truthfulness. The action was brought under Section 2504.1 of the Tenant Protection Rules, whose scope is 6 months before the notice of termination and 10 days after. This would be November 1996 to March 1997. And Rosanna let witness after witness testify about things that happened years ago. How much more crooked can you get, or ignorant? And Glendora's videotaped and audiotaped evidence showed every one of these witnesses scared of actions against them. Shows that every one of these witnesses lied. She is a total failure. She should be fined and locked up, a menace to America. She even let a friend of hers testify. And then she interrupted me when I cross-examined that friend witness. There was no address of the process server, the sewer service, on the false affidavits. And that's against the law. Freya and Washington have tried to cover up the criminal charges that we have brought against Mark A. Gudeman for filing a false instrument out and outlying on an affidavit of service, and Wayne Cheatham and Patrick Rudo. Warren Cheatham. Filing false affidavits, and there's a criminal charge against these three people in the White Plains City Court, but Freya and Rosanna, as they often do, don't do their job of prosecution. Lehrman, like an idiot, kept up an uncontrolled avalanche of objections, all tolerated by medieval Rosanna. It was impossible to tell our side, but in the stacked and rigged scam of medieval Rosanna, this was all embraced. Rosanna unilaterally let them get by, disobeying Section 735, the Real Property Actions and Proceedings Law, a copy of the petition by certified mail. They didn't do that, but she let them get by with it. Gudeman lied under oath and filed false instruments. Gudeman served papers on the court and signed affidavits. He served copies on us when he did not. Rosanna belongs to the sewer service crowd, where the service belongs. What blasphemy this is of America. Then unilaterally, of course, she released the $10,500 rent money. Idiot Porzio refused. He gets the award for being the dumbest litigant in 1997 and 1998. She released it even though our counterclaim was warranty of habitability, which you will see one instance of: water in the cellar every time it rains and plop, plop, plop through puddles this deep. She murdered the law and the facts. Judges are supposed to decide, juries rather, are supposed to decide facts, and she's supposed to decide the law, but she is ignorant of the law, and she robbed us of our state right and our federal right of trial by jury. It will be continued. Right now, we have to do something else. But I will continue this madness, reporting this madness to you. And this is a chat with Glendora, and now we'll go to the archives.
Allen, the network with about 160 groups throughout the country. We've been functioning for about 7 years now. Our premise is that lawyers control.
On February 18th, 1997, my wife Glendora and I entered the Uniondale Courthouse in Uniondale, New York, federal courthouse, through the front door. We had business there with the clerk of the court. We approached the security checkpoint. Glendora emptied her pockets, including a small tape recorder. She preceded me. She went through the magnetometer, and the court security officer, Mr. Sullivan, it beeped a couple of times, and he helped her. She had some identification buttons on, and she took them off, and that took care of the beeping. And then I went through. He said to her, you can't take that tape recorder into the court. And she said, well, may I please have a receipt? And he said, well, we don't give receipts. And I said, well, that's rather strange. It's standard practice pretty much everywhere that if somebody takes your property to hold, they give you a receipt so that you can reclaim your property. And as that was happening, a man, 10 or 12 feet behind us perhaps, who was standing over toward a corner of the lobby where the court security officers have sort of an office, he said, you're not going to get a receipt. And he came forward to where the tape recorder was lying on the table and threw it down. He said, we don't give receipts, you're not going to get a receipt. And then, after a pause, he said, and you've got to leave the courthouse. This was a man that we later learned was Kenneth Mildworm. When he said you got to leave the court, Glendora cited Rule 77 of the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure, which say that the clerk's office must be open at all times so that the public can conduct its business. So after he said that, without saying anything else, he walked around the table where the machine is that shows if anything has metal or anything, and he grabbed Glendora under the arms and then twisted her right arm up between her shoulder blades, high up on her back. And without knowing what his intention was, I spread my arms and stepped over between them to protect my wife and to ward off any blows that there might be. Then he drew back his right arm and hit me in the jaw and knocked me to the floor. When I got up, maybe after 30 or 40 seconds, or maybe a little longer, Glendora was on the floor. And I went over to her to see if she was all right, and we got up. And then in view of Kenneth Mildworm's belligerence and harassment, we left the courthouse. We took all of our belongings, including the videotape, and left the courthouse. And that was about 9:40 a.m., perhaps some 15 minutes after we had entered. This is Franklin Buell again. The preceding account of the happenings of 15 minutes on the morning of February 18th, 1997, Uniondale Courthouse, I gave from just memory. Now I'm going to read a statement that I wrote on April 27th, 1997. And this is January 22nd, 1998, that we are doing this taping. The purpose of it is to make sure that if anything happened to me, a very clear record of what really happened actually happened in the courthouse that morning will be available from my lips as well as from my pen. This is a statement that was written on the 27th of April, 1997. On February 18th, 1997, just before 9:30 a.m., my wife Glendora and I entered the front door, main door of the federal courthouse in Uniondale, New York. We had business to conduct with the clerk of the court. Glendora preceded me to the metal detector, took items out of her pockets, and put them on the table. These included a small tape recorder. Court Security Officer Mildworm was not at the metal detector at this time. The man who was there helped Glendora take off buttons she wore when the detector beeped as she went through, and removing those buttons took care of the beeping. And as Glendora was putting things back in her pockets, not including the tape recorder, the man said, "You can't take the tape recorder into the building." Glendora asked if she could please have a receipt. This brought an answer of, "We don't give receipts." And then from a man who proved to be Security Officer Mildworm, who was standing maybe 10 or 12 feet away toward a corner of the lobby where the security officers have sort of an office. As I went through the metal detector without beeps, Glendora asked why they don't give receipts. And I remarked that getting a receipt for personal property left in keeping with someone is standard practice, commonly accepted practice. Security Officer Mildworm advanced to the metal detector and the adjoining table where the tape recorder had been since Glendora placed it there when she entered. When Glendora again requested a receipt, and I upheld the reasonableness of it, of the request, to have a receipt, Security Officer Mildworm picked up the recorder, slammed it down on the adjoining desk, and asserted, "You're not going to get a receipt." And he continued after a pause, "You've got to leave the courthouse." Glendora cited Rule 77 of the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure, which says the clerk of the court must be open so that the public can conduct its business. To make us leave would violate this rule, Glendora said. With that, Security Officer Mildworm advanced and grabbed Glendora's right arm at the shoulder and twisted it behind her back, between the shoulder blades. The three of us had been standing together. To protect my wife, who is 68 years old, I spread my arms and stepped between Mildworm and Glendora, attempting to ward off his violence toward her. Security Officer Mildworm's action was to draw back his right fist and smash me in the jaw. I'm only 78 years old, knocking me to the floor. When I sat up, Glendora was on the floor. In the face of Security Officer Mildworm's baseless assault and harassment and hostility, we got off the floor, collected our belongings, our papers, and the tape recorder, and left. It was about 9:40 a.m.
It was the morning of February the 18th, 1997, at the Uniondale Courthouse in Uniondale, New York. The time was 9:25 a.m. I entered the courthouse building. I went to the metal detector. Pinkerton was, or a man in a baseball cap and a windbreaker or some kind of a little jacket, followed me to the metal detector, and I emptied my pockets of all the metal and put them down on the tray, in the tray on the table. And the man, who turned out to be Mr. Sullivan, said, "You can't take this recorder into the courtroom with you, into the courthouse with you." And I said, "I want a receipt for it." And he said, "We don't give receipts." So I came away from the metal detector toward the front of the building, not toward the courtrooms. And in a while, a man appeared from behind the x-ray machine. He turned out to be Kenneth Mildworm. And he took the recorder and he slammed it down on the desk, an adjoining desk, and he said, "You're not going to get a receipt." And after a while he said, "You're going to have to leave the courthouse. And I protested under Rule 77, Federal Rules of Civil Procedure, and I named the rule. And I said, the clerk's office is supposed to be open for the public to conduct its business. And then I didn't know whether I had clearance or not, and I wasn't going to take any chances, and I certainly wasn't going to go into the courthouse without being sure that I had clearance. So I was just standing around waiting for clearance. And I was facing the metal detector and facing outdoors. The courtrooms are behind me. And Mildworm sneaks up behind me, grabs me under the arms. Here's a picture of one of the bruises under the arms. There's a videotape of them, too. And then he takes my right arm, right here, the wrist, and he inflicts 4 bruises there. 1 under each arm and 4 bruises here. And then he twists the arm up my back. And Franklin steps between Mildworm and myself to protect me. And all he does is extend his arms between Mildworm and himself. And Mildworm drops me on the floor. Then he turns around and socks Franklin in the jaw and knocks Franklin on the floor. January 25, 1998. Would you look down here? And could you see the water? And Mr. Fortune says there's no water in the summer. Okay, that's one. Let's go over and run this strip right here. Try the other one. Over here. And here's the other one. January 25th, 1998. At 7:23 a.m. drain over here. We have some insulation falling down that has been repaired. But it goes up here. This drain should have been fixed years ago. Get around the other side of me. Excellent. Thank you. The people who own these bicycles should put them in their lockers. That's why we all have lockers. So there's 3 bicycles out here. He's been told about this innumerable times. Well, I would say 24 times. With his air conditioner, I would say 24 times. Today is January the 25th, 1998, Sunday at 7:30 a.m. Now, the cellar in Building C is filled with inflammables. You can hardly get to the recycle. You have to reach over so many discarded boxes. There's a whole bunch of junk in Cellar C. I cannot videotape it for you because it takes a light, such as this, a 600-watt light. Mine is AC, and there doesn't seem to be any AC outlet in Cellar C. I have asked White Plains at Public Access for a battery-operated video light. No, I have asked a Cablevision Hicksville for a video-operated battery light, and they don't have them. But that should be videotaped so you can see how bad Cellar C is. Stolen from our bin. We left the bin open to air it out, and the broom was stolen. However, our broom over in from Cellar C in time for Halloween. No, I just found it last week, 3rd week in January. Again, today is January 25, 1998, Anno Domini, Sunday. Now then, folks, I'm reporting to you on the beat-up of 2 old people by Monster Bruiser Kenneth H. Mildworm. February 18, 1997, Franklin and Glendora went into the Uniondale Brood House, 2 Uniondale Avenue, part of Hofstra University, and to check up on a lawsuit that we had filed against Cablevision, which we eventually won, and to file a new lawsuit. That was also against Cablevision, number 8, number 7. And the clerk's office is supposed to be open to people. The clerk's office is never supposed to be closed. That's in the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure, Rule 77. And we emptied our pockets of metal, which in itself is a denial of due process. And I put my tape recorder into the tray, and Sullivan, Raymond J. Sullivan, said you can't take a tape recorder into the courthouse, which is another whole issue. How is a tape recorder a threat to a judge? How? And so I said I want a receipt for it, and he said we don't give receipts. And then out from behind the conveyor belt, where you have to put all your personal belongings through, which is all wrong. This should not be in the United States of America. This is a police state. This is what we have now in these areas. These goons have turned our republic into a police state. He a man appeared, and that was Bruiser Ken. Kenneth H. Mildworm, 50 years old, 240 pounds. And he had a fierce expression in his eyes and on his face. And he takes my $150 recording instrument, takes it out of the basket, slams it down on the desk, and says, "You're not going to get a receipt." First fight he tries to pick. I didn't say anything. Franklin didn't say anything. And then he says, "You're going to have to leave the courthouse." Why? The courthouse is open to the public to conduct its business in the courts. And then without saying anything else, he grabbed me under the arms, inflicted 2 huge bruises, and then inflicted 4 more bruises over here in the wrist, twisted my arm. Franklin extended his arms between Mildworm and me, Franklin to protect his wife, Glendora. And Mildworm hauls off, socks Franklin in the jaw, drops me on the floor, and sprawls Franklin on the floor. And then he spends the rest of his life covering up his double assault. Well, then you know how they tried to cover it up. They ambushed both Franklin and me back to Uniondale, the FBI, under pretenses that they were going to help us get justice from Mildworm under the law. And then they put us through hell all day, handcuffed us, put a stomach chain around, deprived us of food and drink. And at 5:30 or 6:30 that day, March the 6th, p.m., we went before Robert Levy, a magistrate. Robert Levy did not do his duty. And we were so-called arraigned. And then we were released from captivity at around 6:15 p.m. And Jane Ann Murray paid for a car to take us back to Uniondale, where we had been ambushed. And that was about 7:30 or 8:30. And thank you for that, Jane Ann Murray and the Legal Aid Society, Federal Defenders. And we had to go to Cablevision to hand into the program. That's where we were going when we were ambushed by the police state, by the goons, the hoods, the apes. And we got back to White Plains around midnight. Now, this is chapter 25, reporting on the double assault of Bruiser Ken, the lying, the cover-up, and the frame-up. And a lot has happened in between. I stopped reporting about them on TV to give them an opportunity to come to their senses, but they have no senses. Okay, for 40 weeks, I abstained from reporting on TV their lawlessness, their frame-up, their cover-up, their traitorship to the United States of America. And I played the archives of 1988 and 1989, which are all very, very interesting and are great documents of cable TV and of careers for youth. But these people never came to their senses. They're never going to. And the answer is what? They have no senses. So now, today, spottily here and there, I cannot go through the whole record. The number of pages on Bruiser Ken is 13,000, I believe. Is that right? Let me just tell you just a minute. I think it's worth for you to know either. These papers, they're affectionate, they're all stuck on each other. Isn't that something? It's about $1,900, and it's about 1,500 hours that the rage, over the top, temper tantrum, insanity of Bruiser Ken has cost us $1,500 of two old people's lives. No, it is not $13,000. That's John Malone, the crooked cable TV operator who murdered public access in Westchester. It's 7,500 pages, 24 volumes, 2¼ file drawers, 25 TV reports. February 18th, 1997, when this happened, to March the 15th, 1998, 1 year and 12 days, 89 mailings, and 1,712 lies. Bruiser Ken has told Edgardo Ramos, Kwiatkowski, the judges, Quinn, Patrick Quinn, a deputy United States Marshal at Uniondale, Sullivan, John McHale, Anthony McHale, Rappaport, the court stenographer, Wareham, a former United States attorney. They're a bad group, United States attorney. Terrible people. So 1,712 lives. All I was doing is giving you the pages, and that took forever, right? So Franklin told the truth. I did not testify. This is all your money. This is all government money. Your taxpayer money being used to protect these hoods instead of being used to protect you. And we have here a letter by Edgardo Ramos, a U.S. attorney. And look, he never writes a grown-up legal paper. This is not a grown-up legal paper. He just writes little schoolboy letters. And look at him. Single space, hard to read. And you want to know why lawyers like Edgardo Ramos do not write grown-up legal papers? Because in a letter, they don't have to say, I'm telling the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God. That's the ruse. And he tells more lies, and they want to sentence us, fake sentencing now, to 4 months in jail and 4 months of home confinement. In other words, 3 things. They want to get rid of the civil suit. We sued Bruiser Ken for $23 million, or maybe more. I'd have to look it up. They want to get rid of the civil suit. They want to get these reports off of TV, and they want to cover up the heinous double assault of a Pinkerton named Kenneth H. Mildworm. So they had a trial, which you paid for, and you bought the jurors' lunch, which cost something like, what was it, $300–400. The jurors were intimidated by the ape from the FBI sitting there and glaring at them for 4 days, sitting at the prosecutor's tables, because the jurors knew that they would be retaliated against for First Amendment rights. The jurors knew that, so they were scared and intimidated. And when the jurors went in to deliberate, the marshal was not put under oath, and he was 300 pounds, the biggest one they could pick, to sit outside their door and intimidate them further. So naturally, the jurors came out with a phony verdict of guilty. Guilty of what? Mildworm's lie that we attacked him. And he and his buddies, this is what you call suborn perjury. Mildworm lies, Ramos and Mildworm told the other people how to lie and what to say. Their stories were all in conflict. They had no sequence. They had no continuity. They had no congruity. It didn't matter because they were out to get us. And it's the police state. It is not a republic such as we were started out with and what we are supposed to be. So the jurors came out with a guilty verdict that we attacked Mildworm. We never touched Mildworm. Mildworm did all of the touching. He did all of the talking. And so that's how your taxpayer money has been wasted for 1 year, 2 weeks. And this, they also, see, we got the goods on Mildworm. Somebody, while the audio tape player was in the possession of the goons, the Pinkertons, somebody turned it on. And somebody recorded Mildworm in a fit of anger, totally out of control, which is really, you know, our case. That shows our case. That shows what happened. And so the Ramos and his colluders say that that tape, that we tampered with that tape, and we never did. We never even knew the tape, that recording was on the tape. They're 90-minute tapes, and we just go on and record the next things that happen, and when the tape is full, we file it away. And I was looking for a particular tape as to what happened. I had recorded what had happened in the Uniondale Brood House that day, February 18th, as Franklin and I got into the car and drove from Uniondale to Hicksville, where I had to edit a chat with Glendora. I had recorded the things that had happened. And so I wanted to hear that recording because it had data on it, it had statistics on it about this terrible event. And so in doing that, I found this tape that was made by some Pinkerton or somebody there at the desk. There were 7 of them, I believe, who had turned it on and who had recorded Kenneth Mildworm, showing that he is an insane person. He's out of control, totally unfit. He should not be on that job. He should not be near the public. He's wacko. He's berserk. Ramos, the dishonest, dishonorable United States Attorney, can you believe that? He calls himself the government. He's not the government, okay? He's anti-government. He's not the government. He's the police state. And so he says, he lies some more, 1,712 lies, that we tampered with the tape, as I told you, and that Franklin lied at perjury, and that I told at trial, and that I told Franklin to lie. Well, that's stupid. There was no lie to tell. Franklin told what happened. I tell what happened. It's the same thing because it's the same event, and we reported it. So on those 2 fake charges, they're trying to finagle Joan M. Azrak into sentencing, fake sentencing, 4 months in jail and 4 months of home confinement. And we never touched Mildworm. The best lie that Ramos can come up with is that Glendora reached up and touched Mildworm's arm. Well, that never happened. But even if it did, that's 4 months in jail and 4 months of home confinement. The police state, crazy people. The legal aid attorney for Franklin wrote objections to these lies. Franklin writes his appreciation, and this is on March the 4th, 1998, Anno Domini. Franklin Buell is extremely appreciative of the points made by M.S. Murray in replying to the probation department's report. Why should we be on probation? We have never done anything wrong. It's Kenneth Mildworm who should not be on probation. He should be in jail and he should be fined. They take into account something within that Mr. Buell is an honest man with honest, decent motives and not a criminal. This is touching after what my wife and I have been subjected to falsely by the FBI, the Federal Bureau, the Fraudulent Bureau of Investigation, and the prosecution in something pre-trial and trial case. In its pre-trial and trial case, they don't have a case. This is what you call, folks, selective prosecution. We were selected to be prosecuted. The word is really persecuted. It is good to have M.S. Murray's cogently stated objections to the probation department report falsely something in mind to counteract the contrived case presented against Glendora and me, Franklin Buell. Also wrote an appreciation of Jane Ann Murray's support of us, and I read some of that to you last week, you probably remember, and I left off on page 4, so I'll resume there and read you some more. Mildworm lied that he lifted Glendora up. He never lifted Glendora up. She was standing at the time he attacked her. He lied that he lifted her up from a seating position. When Mildworm touched Glendora, he grabbed her under the armpits, grabbed her right arm at the wrist, and twisted her arm behind her back. And there are 2 bruises under the arms and 4 bruises at the right wrist. And he socked Franklin in the jaw. Franklin is 78 years old and very frail, like 140 pounds. And the tape recorder was out of our hands since Glendora put it in the basket until it was handed to Glendora when she left, who turned it on to record. Whoever did should confess. But these people will never do what is honorable. They'll never do what is honest. They will always do what is dishonorable and dishonest. Whoever turned on that tape recorder should confess. But this is too much to expect these cowards to tell the truth. We didn't even know it had been recorded until August when we were preparing for trial and reviewed the audio tape footage of February 18th and February 20. Mildworm should be man enough and American enough. These people are traitors to America. Policeman enough. He's a former he's a former New York City policeman, 70th precinct type, although he was stationed in Queens. He should be policeman enough to face the insane double assault and take the punishment instead of running away as a coward and a liar. That's what his life has been ever since he committed this horrible double crime. He should be fired immediately, along with his fellow criminals. Franklin would not lie. Franklin was brought up by his mother and father to tell the truth. What's your life worth if you can't tell the truth? What is your life worth, Mr. Mildworm, and all your accomplices, if you base it upon lies? And what is that of your children worth and your progeny? Is this what you're going to pass on to them? Franklin's dad was a Boy Scout leader. He was a Silver Beaver. There is no other story. This is what happened. There was only one thing for us to see and only one thing for us to tell. It's so much easier and nicer. You simply tell the truth. And I would not want their horrible existence of lies. What'd you do all day at work today, Daddy? I lied. How was work today, dear? Good, I lied all day. How do you buy our clothes, Daddy, and our food? I lie. I'm a liar for hire. That's my job. I lie. Franklin would always choose to do what is right by other people and by his country. Frail and aging at 78 years old, he would always be brave and would always do his duty to the world as his parents taught him to do. Quote, brief, fast-moving, and emotionally charged, says Murray, only aids one's memory. It doesn't impede our memory, it aids our memory. It was brief, it was fast-moving, and it was emotionally charged. And we're certainly going to remember this the rest of our lives. We remember it only too vividly. It was no joy. Competing versions, write Murray, is euphemism for mild worms, ignominious lying, and cowardice, and unmanliness. He should not be associated with the United States courts under the flag of the United States of America, nor should his 50 co-conspirators. Franklin would never give false testimony. He was brought up as a Christian and an American to tell the truth. Franklin would further never do anything that he would want to lie about nor cover up. See, that's the whole thing. You don't do things that you would be compelled or that you would cop out by lying about. You just don't do things that are wrong. You do what is right. You do what your God tells you to do. You do what your country tells you to do. You do what is right. And then there's no need to lie because you haven't done anything wrong. But when Mildworm and all of his co-conspirators go out and do wrong all day long, they have to live a life of lying to cover up. Hey, you really think they're going to get away with this? Franklin would further never do anything that he would want to lie about nor cover up. He is a man of honor, totally trustworthy and genuine. He is what we need as court security, as U.S. attorneys, as U.S. Marshals, the United States Marshal Disservice, the Fraudulent Bureau of Investigation, the United States Department of Injustice. He is true blue. He owns his soul and always has, and never sold any of it at any price. Glendora writes in support of Murray's objections. Who obstructed justice? Mildworm, Sullivan, McHale, John Doe, 567, Patrick Quinn, Deputy U.S. Marshal, who lied and threatened and betrayed his country, Thomas Kwiatkowski, Robert Levy, and the rest of the list of conspirators, 50 of them. Mr. Buell's chivalrous intentions, writes Jane Ann Murray, which precipitated his involvement in this case, although not an adequate defense at trial, merit a downward departure. Well, they certainly are an adequate defense at trial. He was protecting his wife, as any man should, from a brute, an insane brute, Kenneth H. Mildworm. Any contact with Mildworm was Mildworm's fault, and all Franklin did was to extend his arms like this between Mildworm and Glendora so Franklin could protect his wife. He outstretched them like the skater that Glendora showed you. I had a picture of a skater. To take Mildworm's blows and shield his wife Glendora from the brute. You can't expect Franklin to do anything but this. He is a man of honor. He was brought up to be by fine parents. Every woman in the world should have a husband like Franklin. Franklin does not believe in injuring anybody or anything, nor in being aggressive, nor offensive, nor in any kind of wrongdoing. And we are up to page 9, folks, and maybe we'll read some of it to you next week. And why did the bunny rabbit ask to be changed into a goon within the next 24 hours? So he could be haired today and goon tomorrow. judges were loafing. You would go down to the United States District Court in Quaropus and Lexington. You would go to the Supreme Court of the State of New York, the City Court of the City of White Plains. Not a soul. It was ghost town. I think that's terrible, the way they loaf Christmas time and New Year's time. You see, I'm in the middle of running these archives, and people enjoy them. This is what public access was in 1973. What is that, 15 years ago, 16 years ago, more than that, 17, huh? Almost. And so, but I just felt compelled to help this poor woman. And and I have terrible reports for you about the United States Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit. Why are appeals courts so crooked? You couldn't have a worse court than the Appellate Division, Supreme Court of the State of New York. You just couldn't have a worse court. And now I find out that the Federal Appeals Court is just as bad. And it's a long story to tell you about that. And many, many stupid things that they've written to tell you that. And you know, and the analysis of what they've done wrong. Okay, but that will have to wait. What happens when ducks fly upside down? What happens when ducks fly upside down? They quack up. And you heard about the Chinese telephone directory? They've completely given up on publishing the Chinese telephone directory. There are so many wings and so many wongs, everybody's winging the wong. And IRS, I can't help you here with your medical deductions. Is as a medical deduction, $100. And the war, Peter,